I'm here with Dr. Luskin. He is the head of the San Francisco, I'm sorry, I apologize, the Stanford Forgiveness Project. And
Okay. Don't worry
he,
about it.
he has done a lot of work around the subject of forgiveness, including experiments, and there's all a wealth of information about what he has done with forgiveness. So I'm just so excited to have you on, here today, Dr. Luskin. So I'd like to ask you how did you come on to this field of forgiveness? What prompted your interest in the beginning?
Well, there were two things. Of course, first was a way that I had been very badly hurt
Hmm.
and couldn't resolve it through the normal psychotherapeutic um, like common sense approaches. They didn't do me any good. I had been betrayed. I stayed angry. I felt hopeless. Um, I got bitter. None of that was helpful. Um, and it took me a while. One day, I mean, this is years ago. My wife came to me and said, Fred, I still love you. I just don't like you as much. Like I didn't, I, I didn't sign on for a bitter, like I thought you could do better than this. And that kicked me in the butt enough to start investigating forgiveness. And this was right before like the launch of positive psychology. So
Right.
I was getting interested in forgiveness. I was learning about it. And so when positive psychology became an idea, my work was welcomed as one of the only examples of a positive psychology approach to forgiveness. Like I wasn't interested in anger. I was interested in forgiveness. I wasn't interested in the woe is me stories that people told. I was interested in, well, what'd you do to get over it? And that has defined the work that I've done for 25 years.
That's that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's why I asked the question, I guess. But so
Yeah.
and I was going to ask, so what was the effect of holding on to that resentment? And you already answered. It was affecting your marriage. And I love
You know
your
the
wife's response. It's like, I love you. I just don't like you sometimes.
Yeah, it's not what you want to hear. Um,
Right.
I learned a lot from that because I saw I had some control over my insides that I was constantly giving away to this offense.
Yeah.
And I learned it firsthand. Like it wasn't pleasant, this it was a crappy way to live. And I saw one day I did try to get in touch with this individual, got back a letter saying like nothing, and I watched my blood pressure go through the roof, and I thought this can't be good for me.
Right.
When I did forgive, um, we completely repaired the relationship, and we're very close now. At this point it's barely a speed bump.
Right. And do you find that not just for yourself, but for others when they do this forgiveness work, that the relationships actually become better than they could have ever imagined?
I wouldn't go better. What I will go is what I will see it as, like let's say you're in your kitchen and you're walking in with the groceries, and all of a sudden the bag breaks and everything falls to the floor and your kitchen's a mess, and you go, oh shit. Okay. So that's healthy. Oh shit is healthy. But then if for the next month you go, I hate Safeway, I hate bags, It's not fair. My kitchen's a mess. All this stuff. Then you're creating a grudge out of something that happened. Forgiveness, like, cleans up the floor, puts the bag away, accepts the fact that this happened, makes peace with the fact that you reacted badly, and then you just go back into your life. It doesn't make things better or worse. It cleans the mess up without prejudice. It's
Oh,
like,
I love it. I love it. That's a great way of putting it. It cleans the
yeah,
mess up without prejudice.
yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, it happened. So it's an incredibly important skill to develop.
Yes. Yeah, and you've developed well, you've broken it down into 9 steps. Of course, we don't, anyone who wants to know more can research that. But the thing that I loved about them is they weren't anything I hadn't heard before.
Of
So
course.
how did you develop the progression from the 1 to 9?
Well, the first thing I did was look at what helped me.
Okay.
And then I did my dissertation study on what helped me. Like, I experimented with it to see if it helped other people, which is a good thing. It doesn't mean anything if it helped me. I mean, that's great.
Right.
And so I experimented and I was putting it together during my dissertation. Like, I didn't know what step or anything. It was an experiment. And then after doing it, experimenting with it, then we got a grant to make it a big project. And then is we got a research team. And then I was able to kind of put it together and listen to other people and observe lots of folks and realize that there were basically only a couple of parts of forgiveness that was essential. One, explaining to people what it is and isn't is essential because
Yes.
nobody knows what it is. Two, making sure they recognize that forgiveness is for you and not for the offender, and it occurs in the present. It has nothing to do with the past. It's past is done. You're here now. That's when you forgive. So that's the framing. Then I recognize that people need to calm down more than anything else. Like, you're all upset because this happened. The most important thing is to calm down the upset, and then you can think straight.
Yes.
And once you think straight, then you can change your story. Like, you don't have to just tell a story about how somebody ruined your life or is the worst thing that ever happened. So that's the progression that I thought of. Okay, understand what it is, calm down, think clearly, change your story, and move on.
Oh my God, that is so simple, and yet everyone has the hardest time, including myself, actually
Of
doing it.
course.
But
Yeah.
so have you found that the people you've worked with that they have that kind of realization that wow, this is a lot easier than I thought, and I feel so much better?
Um, I mean, there's gradations to it. Um, Many people are grudging
Yeah.
because they love having things to blame for their unhappiness.
Yeah.
It's one of the human weaknesses is that somebody else has to be responsible for my crappy life, not me. So let's find somebody to blame or something to blame. So, I mean, most people who go through the trainings find themselves a bit happier because they feel more efficacious.
Right.
A modest number, like, really release a burden.
Hmm.
But on the whole, the biggest reaction is, oh, I have so much more control of how unhappy and pissed I am right now than I ever would have thought. So that's the biggest takeaway that people come from.
Wow. So they actually have a feeling of control over their lives again, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you look at it this way, and and if you've read my book, you know the beginning metaphors in there. So the first one is you have all these planes circling around in your head that you're not landing. So anybody who's got all this like chatter and noise and stuff in their head that's not landing, that's not a happy place. And the other one is like you have a motel or something. How many of those rooms do you want to rent out to all the issues and all the unresolved stuff? Those are everybody's personal choice. What the biggest advantage of forgiveness is you remind them that they have a choice,
Right.
that you're not a victim, that bad things happen, and that you may have been not responsible for the bad thing happening, but you are responsible for how you use that in your life.
Wow. Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you're responsible. Like, and you want to be careful not to make too much of your particular suffering, because if you would look, most people have suffering in their lives, and you want to like a little bit transmute your personal grievance into compassion for the human condition.
Yeah. Yeah. That is gold right there.